Hello class, this is lesson 5-5 in your textbook about how to solve absolute value equations. So first we just need to remind ourselves what is absolute value. In the past when we took the absolute value of the number 4, we got the number 4 again. Also when we took the absolute value of -4, we got +4 as well. So what we can remember is that when we take the absolute value of something, really what we're looking for is the distance from that number back to 0 on a number line. So if I was going to just draw a quick number line, I had 0 in the middle, and if I had 4 over here, and if I had -4 over here, the distance from 4 back to 0 would be 4, and also from -4 back to 0 would be 4 as well. So that's what we're looking for, okay? So when we have an absolute value equation, okay, what we're trying to do is we're trying to find the values of x so that the equation is true. So let me give you an example. First one is the most basic equation. It's asking us to solve the absolute value of x when it's equal to 15. So kind of what we're thinking in our heads are, what number could I put in here so that when I take the absolute value of it, I get 15? Well, obviously x could be +15, but also x could be -15. Because if I take the absolute value of -15, I get +15. Okay, so that's a pretty easy one. The next one is fairly simple as well. It says to solve the absolute value of x plus 4 when that equals 3. So what you want to do in this case is you want to split up this equation in two ways, okay? We're going to write the equation the way that it looks the first time, x plus 4 is equal to 3, but it just does not have the absolute value symbols. And then we're going to write it again, x plus 4, but the second time you're going to say that it's equal to -3, okay? So let's go ahead and figure this out now. We're going to solve it like it's two different equations. So the first time we're going to subtract 4 on both sides, and I find that x is equal to -1. And then this time I'm going to subtract 4 as well, but the second time I find that x is equal to -7. So in this case, x can equal -1 or -7. Okay? Let's go ahead and move on. Now I want us to solve the following absolute value equation. It says 3 times the absolute value of 4x plus 2 minus 7 is equal to 11. So whenever you have an instance like this, what you want to do first is get rid of those lonely numbers that are not inside of the absolute value. So first what I want to do is I want to get rid of this 7 because it's all alone. So I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So then I'm going to rewrite it. This way I don't make any mistakes. It's always a good habit. And 11 plus 7 is 18. Okay, now I still want to get rid of the 3 that's on the outside, so I'm going to divide both sides by 3. So now I have the absolute value of 4x plus 2 is equal to 6. And now it looks a lot like our last example, where we're going to split this into two different equations. The first one is going to look exactly the same, 4x plus 2 is equal to 6. And then the second one is going to start the same, 4x plus 2, but I'm going to set it equal to -6. Okay? So let's subtract 2 on both sides. 4x is equal to 4. And then when you divide both sides by 4, x is equal to 1. So I have one solution. Now let's plug in, or not plug in, but let's solve for the other side. So subtract 2 on both sides. So now 4x is equal to -8. And divide both sides by 4. We find that x is equal to -2. So let's see if this makes sense. If I take 1 and if I plug it into the top, let's see what we get. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 2 is 6, and 3 times the absolute value of 6 is 18. Then 18 minus 7 is 11, and that's what it's equal to on the other side. And then let's try out negative 2. If I plug that in, 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. So then I have to take the absolute value of negative 6, which is positive 6, and multiply it by 3. That's 18 minus 7 is 11. So this is why I'm going to get 2 different answers. Okay, I have one more example and then we're done. This time, solve the absolute value of 3x plus 5 plus 6, which is equal to negative 2. Okay, so like we did before, let's try to get rid of the lonely numbers that are not inside of the absolute value. So let's subtract 6 on both sides. Then we're left with 3x plus 5 is equal to negative 8. Now we need to ask ourselves, does this even make sense? Can you take the absolute value of any number and say that it is a negative number? No, because we can't find the negative distance from 0. We're only going to have a positive distance to go back to 0. So whenever you get to a situation like this, you're going to stop and you're going to say no solution. Because you're not going to find any number. Even if I plugged in 1, the absolute value of 3 plus 5 would be 8, and 8 does not equal negative 8. So in this case, no solution. So what I want you to do on your own is to try one yourself. It is 4 times the absolute value of t plus 9 minus 5, which is equal to 19. And try to solve, and if you can't solve, you're going to put no solution. But if you can solve, try to find both of the solutions to this absolute value equation. So I'll see you when you come to class.